Imagine holding a single US dollar in your hand. It looks simple, just a piece of paper with a number printed on it. But behind that $1 is a story of war money, power banks, and global influence. Today, the US dollar is used across the world. Countries keep dollars in their reserves. Companies use dollars for international trade. Oil is often priced in dollars, and when the American economy moves, the rest of the world often feels it. But how did one currency become so powerful? The story begins long before the dollar became the world's dominant currency. In the early years of the United States, America was still a young country. There was no powerful central banking system like the one we know today. Money was complicated. Different banks issued their own notes. Coins from different countries were also used. And the new American government needed a reliable financial system. In 1790, the United States created the first national bank. The goal was simple: create financial stability and help the new government manage its money. But the dollar was still far from becoming a global currency. For much of the 19th century, Britain was the world's strongest economic and financial power. The British pound was extremely important in international trade. London was the center of global finance. Then something changed. America began growing rapidly. Its population increased. Factories expanded, railroads connected the country, natural resources helped American industries grow. And by the beginning of the 20th century, the United States had become one of the world's largest economies. But economic power alone was not enough. America needed a financial system that could support its growing economy. In 1913, the United States created the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve became the central banking system of America. It helped create a more organized financial system. Then came the event that changed the entire world. The First World War. Europe was devastated by the war. Countries borrowed enormous amounts of money. Factories were destroyed. Governments accumulated huge debts. America, on the other hand, became an important supplier of food weapons and industrial goods. Money began flowing toward the United States. America's financial position became stronger. But the biggest transformation came during the Second World War by 1945. Much of Europe had been devastated. Millions of people had lost their homes. Industries had been destroyed, and governments needed money to rebuild. The United States emerged from the war with enormous economic power. American factories were producing goods for the world. American banks had huge financial influence, and the United States held a very large share of the world's monetary gold. Then came a meeting that changed the international financial system. In 1944, representatives from 44 countries gathered at Bretton in New Hampshire. They wanted to create a stable financial system for the world after the war. The agreement connected many currencies to the US dollar, and the dollar itself was connected to gold at a fixed rate. This gave the dollar something extremely important. Trust countries around the world began keeping dollars because the American economy was powerful, and the dollar was linked to gold. The dollar was no longer just American money. It was becoming international money. But the system eventually faced a major problem. The United States was spending enormous amounts of money. The costs of foreign commitments, government programs, and the Vietnam War all increased pressure on the American financial system. Other countries began questioning whether the United States had enough gold to support all the dollars circulating around the world. Then in 1971, President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would stop converting dollars into gold at the previous fixed rate. The Bretton Woods system was effectively coming to an end. Many people expected the dollar to lose its global importance. But something surprising happened. The dollar remained powerful. Why? Because the world economy had already become deeply connected to the dollar. Banks used dollars. International companies used dollars. Governments held dollars. And global trade increasingly depended on dollar-based financial systems. Another major factor was oil. During the 20th century, oil became one of the most important resources on Earth. International oil trade became heavily connected to the US dollar. This created enormous demand for dollars. Countries that wanted to buy important commodities often needed access to the dollar system. And this helped strengthen the position of American finance. But the power of the dollar is not only about oil, it is also about trust. The United States has one of the world's largest economies. American financial markets are enormous. US government bonds are widely held around the world. And the dollar is considered a major reserve currency. This means central banks around the world keep dollars as part of their foreign currency reserves. So when a country holds billions of dollars, it is not simply keeping American cash. It is participating in a global financial system, and this gives the United States something very valuable: financial influence. When the American government changes interest rates, markets around the world can react. When the value of the dollar rises, import prices can change. When America changes its financial policies, other countries can feel the effects. The dollar has therefore become more than money. It has become a tool of economic influence. But there is another side to this story. The power of the dollar also creates challenges for America. If the dollar becomes extremely strong, American exports can become more expensive for foreign buyers. If countries lose confidence in American financial policy, they may try to reduce their dependence on the dollar. And in recent years, some countries have been exploring alternatives, other currencies, regional payment systems, and new financial technologies. But despite these challenges, the dollar remains one of the most important currencies in the world. Its journey from a young nation's currency to a global reserve currency took more than 2 centuries. It was shaped by wars, industrial growth, banking, international trade oil, and most importantly, confidence. The hidden story of the US dollar is not simply about a piece of paper. It is about how economic power can become global power. America did not build its financial influence in one day. It was built through decades of economic growth, military and political influence, international institutions, global trade, and a financial system that became deeply connected to the rest of the world. So, the next time you see a single US dollar, remember, you are not just looking at money. You are looking at a symbol of one of the most powerful financial systems in modern history. And that is the hidden story of how the US dollar helped America build a global economic empire.